I have with me Caleb Cain. And Caleb is a college dropout who says he was radicalized by alt-right figures via their persuasive YouTube videos. And so, to make it a little clearer, from what I'm told, Caleb was an alt-right kind of a guy at one point, and then he went back to being, I guess, a liberal Democrat or something. I have to ask him. Caleb, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jesse. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Happy White History Month.
Okay, Jesse.
I'm sorry?
I said okay.
Okay mean what? What does it mean, okay?
I just okay. How are you, Jesse?
All is well. Are you celebrating White History?
I celebrate every people's.
How about July? Do you celebrate White History Month?
I don't specifically celebrate white history, but I love white people. I love all people.
But why do you celebrate the other ones but not White History?
Well, Black history is just more about platforming, people that have had a disadvantage. So that's really all it means to me.
Do you celebrate
Black history? That's more for Black people.
Oh, you don't celebrate Black history either then?
I don't specifically celebrate anything.
Oh, okay, good, man. You don't celebrate your birthday or anything?
Well, I do celebrate my birthday, Jesse.
And so at one point, just to be clear for me and the rest of the audience, at one point you were an alt-right.
Yeah, I was. Well, I would have called. I'm what you would have described as alt-light. I was kind of like the lead up into alt-right, but I was in that. Yeah, I was in that circle.
And how long were you an alt-light?
Alt-light? I mean, I went from being a libertarian to being a conservative to being like what you call a civic nationalist. That's what the alt-lighters call themselves. I was probably that for like 2 or 3 years.
And what made you? And now you are what?
Now I would call myself just a progressive.
A progressive. Yeah. And what's wrong with being an alt-right?
What's wrong with being alt-right?
Yes.
So alt-righters, they're very obsessed with white identity, and they're very much obsessed with like putting themselves. So they say that they just want to help white people and give white people a place for themselves. But like a lot of times it really does come down to like white supremacy. And there's a lot of like really bad ideas that they spread around, like anti-Semitism. You know, alt-righters, many of alt-righters believe that the Jews control the world. I'm sure you've heard of this before. And they also believe that Black people are genetically inferior and Mexican people are genetically inferior, that they have lower IQs genetically. So there's a lot of stuff like that is it's really toxic just for everybody.
And what's wrong with them believing those things? Why don't they have a right to believe whatever they want to believe?
They can believe those things. And I don't even have so much a problem with someone like, being into their white identity. But the problem is like they put themselves above other people. And, when you put yourself above other people, especially when you have power in society, that can create a situation where you hurt other people.
So white people who put themselves above other people end up hurting, and they end up hurting other people.
Yeah, well, they might try to enslave other people, or they might try to create laws that make sure other people can't get jobs, or there's all sorts of things that can happen.
Really, and so there are Black people who put themselves above white people, including the alt-right and other white people. And they have power, so-called power. They're in control. Do white people run the same risk? Do the whites and the Jews run the same risk of being put into slave by these Black people with power who think that they're superior to whites and Jews?
I think you and me might disagree the amount of power that Black people hold, but there are Black nationalists. You've spoken with Hebrew Israelites before. If those people were in a position of power, I would not want them to be believing that they're superior to other people.
So for the Blacks who are in power, people like the Maxine Waters, the Wicked Witch of the West, Barack Obama when he was president, Big Mama being so-called first lady, were whites and Jews at risk of being put into slavery because those black people were in power.
I don't want to get too focused on slavery, but I suppose if Maxine Waters was a black nationalist, yeah, I would want to have a conversation with her about that. I don't want anyone to be any sort of national supremacist.
And so, when Obama was in the White House, were the whites and Jews at risk of being put into slavery?
I don't think Obama thinks he's better than white people.
So, what do you think?
I don't think so.
You have been paying attention.
Amazing.
Amazing. And so, are you getting paid to attack the alt-right?
No, I'm not getting paid, Jesse.
It's been said
No,
that you're getting paid
do
by the Democrats or somebody to do
no,
these
I don't
things
get
that
paid
you are
by the
doing.
Democrats. I have a Patreon account, which some of my supporters donate to. It's at about $200 a month right now. But no, I don't get paid for this, Jesse.
How
I have to
did
work for that.
YouTube radicalize you?
So the way it works was I went to YouTube looking for self-help content, and because I was very depressed at the time, and I found this guy named Stefan Molyneux. And basically, what happens is you'll start watching one content creator, and that content creator will have someone on their show. And there's nothing wrong with having someone on your show, but like just like you're having me on your show right now, you're challenging me, right? But a lot of the times, these people will have people on their show, and they won't challenge them or push back on their ideas. And so Stefan was teaching people that black people are genetically inferior, and all this stuff. And it's basically like you'll have one person on your show, and then you'll start to trust what that person says, and then you kind of go through this like weird spiral of watching more and more content creators, and it kind of like it has this effect of driving you deeper and deeper into the far right. And so I don't have so much a problem with libertarians and conservatives, but people with a lot of these libertarian and conservative shows, they did shows with people like Richard Spencer and people that were further down this pipeline. And whenever they did shows with these people, they didn't really push back on them on their ideas. Like, I'll give you credit, Jesse. When you had Richard on your show, you pushed back against his like identitarianism. You challenged him on his white identity. But like a lot of people, they don't challenge these people in that stuff, right? And they kind of just let them say whatever they want. And then also, YouTube likes to recommend more and more videos. And so I've spoken with a lot of people where they just kind of get into this pattern where they're listening to deeper and deeper content. So they might start out a libertarian or listening to someone like Ben Shapiro, but if they keep listening to content and they're not getting challenged on that content, they can end up listening to people you've spoken with personally, Jesse, people like Mike Enoch, people like Richard Spencer, people like Mark Collette.
So let me ask, have you personally heard Stefan Molyneux say that white people was black people inferior to white? You heard him say that?
So what Stefan Molyneux has said is Stefan Molyneux promotes this idea of race and IQ, of race realism. And so it's basically like this fake science where they're trying to say that black people are in the position that they are in life because they have lower average IQs. And those lower average IQs are because of genetics. That's what Stefan Molyneux said.
But you have not heard him say that black people are inferior to whites. You have not heard him.
That's kind of what he's saying, though, Jesse.
But
I mean, that's,
I know, but those are your words and not his, right?
Sure, but that one can infer what he's saying from that.
But is that good to do that?
Jesse, I mean, it's pretty much what he's saying, right?
I've never heard him say that.
That's pretty much what he's saying, though, isn't it? I mean, if I say that black people they're just worse people, they're just less intelligent people, they're more violent because it's just in their genes, it's just the way they were born. I mean, I don't think you even believe that, Jesse. I understand that you believe that people were born into sin, but that's a lot different than saying that people just genetically cannot compete with white people, that they'll just always be that way.
Why do you think that blacks are more violent than whites?
I think that black people grow up in an environment that is, I grew up in an environment that had a lot of poverty. When you grow up in a tough environment like that, the only capital that you have, the only thing that you have to your name is your pride, right? And I don't think it's a good thing, but people end up fighting with other people to secure their pride, to secure their stance in society, to make sure that they're dominant and no one takes anything from them. And I think black people just find themselves in a situation due to history and due to economics. They find themselves in kind of this feedback loop where they have to use violence to solidify their position in society. But in turn, that use of violence ends up hurting their community as a whole. And so, I mean, I would like to find ways to fix that.
How about encouraging them to get married and be good examples for their children, work, provide? Would you like to encourage blacks to get married and stop having all these babies out of wedlock?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would like to encourage them that. And that's why we need mentors in those communities.
You mentioned that
we need these in poor white communities too, by the way. It's not just black communities. It's poor communities all over the country. We need good mentors.
You mentioned that you were around the time you heard Stefan, you were depressed at that time, right? And you were antisocial. Why were you depressed and antisocial?
I had a very rough childhood, Jesse.
What do you mean?
Very rough childhood. I had a very rough upbringing. There was a lot of physical and emotional abuse in my childhood, and I think that affected me. Why
did your mother physically and emotionally abuse you?
Because she had emotional problems of her own.
Oh, I see. And why did your father protect you from her?
Because he had emotional problems of his own.
And how are you now?
I'm good now. You know, I struggle with things still, but I'm pretty good for the most part. I have good support structures. I've found ways to cope with these things. So I'm good now.
So you still get depressed and antisocial at times?
I wouldn't say I get antisocial. Yeah, we all get depressed from time to time.
I don't.
I mean, not everybody. Not everybody, but I think I'm good for the most part. Yeah.
And why don't you go?
I'm 26 years old now, so I'm doing a lot better than I was at 21.
Why haven't you gone to your mother and forgiven her for what she did to you?
Jesse, I've actually already done all that.
You went to her?
Yeah.
And you told her you resented her because she screwed up your life?
Yeah, I actually did all that.
And how did it go?
It went well.
Oh, good. So let me ask, who was worse, Antifa or the so-called alt-right?
I think it depends on what you mean there, Jesse. I mean, there's actions by Antifa I don't support, right? I don't like it when people burn trash cans or break windows. I think that's really foolish behavior. But I don't know. It's kind of a false equivalency, Jesse. The alt-right is very antagonistic, and they're looking for fights. They're looking to cause destabilization in the system. So I think it's a false equivalency.
Who is worse, the man who go to fight with hiding his face, or the man who go to a fight revealing his face?
I mean, Jesse, that's why does the SWAT team, whenever they go to someone's house and they arrest somebody, why do they wear masks?
Who is worse, the man who goes to a fight hiding his face, or the man who goes to a fight revealing his face?
I don't see it that way, Jesse. Like the way you're framing the question, I don't see it that way.
How am I framing the question? I'm just simply asking you a question. Who is worse, the man who hides his face to go to a fight, or the man who reveals his face to go to a fight?
I get what you're saying, but
what am I saying? What am I saying?
You're saying that which is like more honorable, who is the better man in that situation. But in a situation like this, like if first of all, there are alt-righters that cover their faces too. People protect their identities in situations like that because they could be personally attacked and targeted later on. So if you're asking why Antifa covers their face, that's why they do it. Like I said, I don't condone every single action that every single person in Antifa does. I think there's a lot of foolish behavior there, but I think it's a false equivalency to compare them to the alt-right, especially when you see how these groups act. And yeah, I think that there's a justification for people covering their faces whenever they're trying to protect their identity.
I want to ask the question one more time, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, okay.
It seems as though you're avoiding the question. Who is worse, the man who hides his face to go to a fight, or the man who reveals his face to go to a fight?
It depends on the situation, Jesse.
You're not answering the question.
I know, because you want me to just give you an easy answer, but it's a complicated.
No, I want the truth.
It's a complicated question.
It's not.
Time to hide your face.
You know that Antifa is worse than the alt-right. That's why you want to answer.
No, it's not necessarily.
And they're cowards. They're lowlifes. They're being paid. They're evil. That's why they hide their faces. If they were fighting for a just cause, they would not be hiding their faces.
Amazing.
Amazing. And you know that, right?
All right, Jesse. What else you got?
No, do you know that?
I don't agree with you, Jesse.
Why not?
I don't agree with you
The
because
alt-right don't hide their faces.
I understand that. Well, that's not completely true. They walk around with skull masks, skull wraps on their faces. That's not completely true.
But you're not.
Richard Spencer doesn't hide his face, but there are many that do.
Most of them don't hide their faces. You also said that the alt-right will not debate anyone. That's not true either. Why did you say that?
I never said the alt-right doesn't debate.
You said that they are unwilling to debate. And you said that I will confront anybody, but they're unwilling to do it. And that's not true.
I never said that.
What did you say?
No, the alt-right actually is very open to debate. They actually want to debate people. No, I never said that.
And so what is it like living a life where you could be depressed at times? What caused you to become depressed?
Like I said, emotional trauma from being a kid, and you just have to find ways to cope with that. You have to find ways to. It's mostly in your thinking, right? So you have you get into these patterns of thinking where you have a negative voice in your head, and then you just have to like reorient that. You have to redirect that, and then realize that you shouldn't be listening to that voice in your head.
You have called radicalization a public health crisis. What do you mean it's a public health crisis?
So,
and do you believe that the government should get involved?
Well, what I think the government should do, and you'll disagree with this because I understand that you're a fiscal conservative, but the way people become radicalized is from bad, it's basically bad socioeconomic positions. So people that go through poverty or people that go through isolation in their life, people that, don't have access to good. These are a lot of the people that fall into radicalization, people that come from broken households and broken families. So I would seek to kind of fix those problems. And we could do that through government. We could do that through government programs. You would probably disagree with that.
Well, black people have relied on government for 70 years now. It hasn't fixed their problems. They've only gotten worse. Why hasn't it worked for the blacks? I
would say those government programs have bad incentives, right? So like welfare has bad incentives. It incentivizes you to stay poor. It never helps you get out of your situation because once you hit a certain income level, it just cuts off completely. So I would say that we need to restructure those social services so that they actually help people and they don't just keep people in a poverty level.
You said that you grew up poor, right?
Yeah.
And why didn't you become a criminal?
Jesse, I did a lot of sketchy stuff when I was a kid.
Did you become a criminal?
I'd never been arrested, Jesse, but I did stuff I wasn't supposed to when I was growing up.
Why didn't you become a criminal?
Because I didn't have guidance in my life, Jesse.
Oh, you did. Why didn't you? I said, why didn't you become a criminal? You were poor.
No, Jesse, what I'm trying to tell you is that I was just never arrested, right? Like I'm trying to tell you that I had a rough life growing up. I didn't always do the right thing.
I want to. And so why did you become a criminal though?
But if I would have been arrested, I would have been a criminal.
And why weren't you arrested?
Because I never got caught doing anything, Jesse.
Amazing.
Come on, Jesse. You know how this works.
Well, why don't you teach?
Your past.
Why don't you teach the blacks how you got away with committing crimes and not get arrested?
Because I don't want people to get away with committing crimes. I want people to get better.
I want to go back to the Antifa versus the alt-right. I've noticed that the Antifa people are very violent, and they deliberately go to the alt-right events in order to stir up trouble, to attack them with weapons and things like that. Is that a good thing to do? Is that the right thing to do on the part of Antifa?
I'll say this, Jesse. I understand where people's frustration comes from when someone comes into your community and starts talking about setting up a white ethno-state and basically kicking you out, and that would have to be done through force. So they're a lot of people in these communities, they are fearful for their lives. They're not just getting angry and violent for no reason. But what I will say, Jesse, is I don't think that the violence, like, very much, I think that we're at a position where we're escalating things, and when you attack fascists, it does escalate their behavior.
Should Antifa be doing that, deliberately going to these people events
It depends,
with
Jesse.
weapon and dark clothes, hiding their cowardly faces, and attacking the alt-right? Should they be doing that?
Like I said, I think that it's a double-edged sword. People want to defend their communities, and they don't want these people coming into their communities to attack. But at the same time, when that violence gets used by the alt-right, and then they use it as a way to, basically say that they're the victim, and then promote their message even further and get new recruits.
I'm black and slow. I'm asking you, should Antifa dress in black, hiding their cowardly faces, picking up weapons, and going and attacking the alt-right when they hold events? Should they be doing that?
I mean, I think ideally, Jesse, nobody would be doing any of that stuff, but that's not the position
Should they be doing that?
That's not the position we're in, Jesse.
No, I'm asking you, should they be doing it? Why don't you answer the question?
Because you ask complicated questions.
How is that complicated? Yes or no? Should they be attacking the alt-right, hiding and with weapons, going to their events? Should they be doing that?
They should be defending their communities, but violence does escalate situations.
So should they do that?
They should be defending their
Should they be carrying weapons and hiding in black, hiding their faces?
It depends on the situation. They should be defending their communities.
So should they do the same to blacks?
Should they do the same thing to blacks?
Should Antifa, when blacks are protesting white people, thinking that they're above whites and they're attacking and being violent with white people at white events and other places, college campuses and other places, should Antifa put on black, hide their cowardly faces, pick up weapons, and go and attack black people who are doing the same thing that Antifa is doing? Blacks who are doing the same thing that you accuse the alt-right of doing, should Antifa go and do the same thing to the blacks?
If black supremacists, black people that want to subjugate white people and kick them out of the country, if they're coming into a community and threatening those people, I would expect that community to defend itself.
And so when Black Lives Matter go out and attack white people, attack cops and others, Antifa should go and attack Black Lives Matter, right?
Black Lives Matter is not one thing, though, Jesse. There have been sections of Black Lives Matter that have done some disgusting things.
Why are you so clear when it comes to Antifa but not Black Lives Matter and others?
I'm giving you the same answer. If Black Lives Matter, if there's violent sections of Black Lives Matter that want to create a supremacist state over other people, then the people in those communities should defend themselves from that. But that's not the entirety of Black Lives Matter.
That's amazing. You realize you're being a coward right now. You're not being honest, right?
Okay, Jesse.
Beta!
All right, here we go. That was it.
Beta male. So let me
Jesse, I have
ask.
a question for you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so would you debate Vegeta on Saiyan supremacy?
Who?
Vegeta, would you debate him on Saiyan supremacy?
I don't know who Vegeta is, but I'll debate anybody and their mama.
Amazing.
I'll debate Satan if he came out of hell. But let me ask. So yes, I'll debate anyone. I don't run. Why is it that?
I'll let him know.
Why is that the left is unwilling to debate anyone? They're cowards. They hide.
So I will say this. I think that the left does. I think people on the left, particularly YouTubers, should be debating these people more. The problem is a lot of times people won't debate in good faith. So they're not really looking for a debate. They're just looking to promote their own ideas. But I think that on YouTube, I don't care about out in the real world, but on YouTube, there should be more debate of these people to dismantle the things that they're doing. Because that's exactly, you've talked to Destiny before, I understand, Stephen Bennell. And the way I got out of the alt-right was Destiny went and debated with those alt-righters and challenged their ideas and ultimately showed that their ideas, were they weren't correct. And so I think that more YouTubers on the left should go and debate with these people.
And so to break it down, you're saying that the left will not debate because they're cowards.
It's not so much cowardice. It's they don't want to platform and promote ideas because
That's
people
an excuse that they
they
use.
debate conservatives. They'll debate conservatives a lot, but they tend not to debate, people that consider themselves alt-right, because the alt-righters are just looking to spread their message, not really have an honest debate.
But if they know that they're right, if the left felt that they were really right about what they were doing, then they would debate anyone. It doesn't matter what the alt-right says or what they do. The left will still debate it, but the left are cowards. They will not debate.
I don't think they're cowards, but I agree that they should debate with the alt-right more.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Something else I wanted to ask you about. You have criticized this notion that Islam, liberalism, immigration, and socialism are destroying the West. You don't believe that they are destroying the West?
I mean, there's problems within some of those things, but no, I don't think that there's this big grand conspiracy to destroy the West. I don't think, no.
What type of problems do you find within some of those things?
I mean, there's obviously problems within something like Islam, right? But then when you start,
what's the problem with Islam?
Well, there are radical factions of Islam, right? That's an issue. Just like there are radical factions, just like I think that ISIS is very comparable to something like the alt-right. It might not be as violent.
No, they are comparable to the Antifa, not the alt-right.
Okay.
They are violent like Antifa. Antifa would do what Allahu Akbar people would do: cut your head off.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, they would. They're evil.
So there are issues within that ideology, but that's not to say that we need to slander Islam as a whole and be afraid of Muslims and be, going after Muslims. Muslim people in the United States, for example, are very moderate. Many Muslims in the UK and in Europe are very moderate. Even in the Middle East, there's lots of moderate Muslims. So I think that we need to be having like a nuanced conversation about that. The other things you said, socialism. I mean, it depends on what you mean by that, Jesse. I don't really support like some communist revolution, but if giving people health care and education is socialism, then I guess I'm in favor of that, even though that isn't socialism. That's not what socialism is. Socialism is where the workers own the factory, essentially.
No, socialism is when you're being controlled by others. And so if you notice that black people are socialists now, most black people believe in socialism, and that is because they've been given so much free stuff over the years. And those people who have given them, like the government, the liberals, the Democrats, the black race hustlers, they now control the black. Socialism is about control.
Okay, so I don't agree with that, Jesse. That's not what socialism is. So what else did you say? You said socialism, Islam. What was the other one?
Socialism, Islam, libertarian.
Libertarians? I mean, yeah, I think libertarians are causing a lot of problems in terms of our social services. I agree with that, Jesse. Libertarians, yes, they're stripping our social services and our social programs, and they are causing problems to the country. I agree with you.
Do you believe
Amazing.
Are white people racist?
Are white people racist?
Yes.
I don't think all white people or most white people are racist, but there's racist white people. I know racist white people.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not racist.
It's how come all white people know other white people are racist, but none of the white people who know white racists are racist?
I mean, you could talk to my friend. I have a friend that admits that he's racist, and he would tell you that white people are racist.
And what is racist?
Racist is like, it's thinking that you're better than other races, that there's something about you that's better. And then like kind of using your power or using your position over those people.
You said that the alt-right is unwilling to debate. I mean, the alt-right is willing to debate, right?
The alt-right is very willing to debate. They're always looking to debate.
And why are they willing to debate others?
Because they think that their ideas are superior, and they don't really have the same fear that people on the left have. So the fear that people on the left have is that they're going to give these people a platform, that if you give Richard Spencer a platform to talk about his ideas, then it's just going to, it's just going to draw people to his ideas, or it's going to give him more publicity or more public attention, and that's going to help grow his movement. And I agree with them on that, but I think it's more important that we challenge those ideas publicly, specifically on YouTube. I think that on YouTube it really needs to be happening more, and that way people can see the errors of those ways.
Why I've noticed that the left has the platform, and by having the platform, they seem to be so willing to shut down anyone like the alt-right or black conservatives or white conservatives or the great white hope. They try to shut down people who disagree with them, and in some cases they're able to do it because they own the platform. Why are the left so cowardly that they would shut down disagreement?
Well, I think liberals might be in control of YouTube. I wouldn't say leftists are. If you're talking about people that are further to the left than liberals are, I mean, yeah, people on the left do generally call for deplatforming of figures because they feel like these figures are spreading harmful ideas. I mean, in Germany, they have laws against, you can't be a public official or go on the news and deny the Holocaust in Germany. I mean, generally, I'm for free speech for the most part, so I'm very uncomfortable in these types of conversations because I really don't want to censor people or censor their speech. So I'd much rather us try to challenge those ideas. But I get where they're coming from because a lot of people spread ideas disingenuously.
Amazing. What I got to run here in a minute, but I want to ask. You said that you are a progressive, right?
Yep. I mean, I don't like to label myself too much, but I guess that's what I am.
How can you be a man or a male and be a leftist? It's such a feminine thing to be because I've noticed that most of the people who are leftists are very either homosexuals or transgenders or angry women who hate men. Do you fit in one of those categories?
Well, when you come to the left, you have to renounce your manhood. So I had to renounce my manhood right away. They took my man card away, so I lost all of that, Jesse.
And so what are you?
I don't know anymore. I don't know, Jesse.
How can you be a man and be a leftist, really?
Jesse, I think that there's plenty of people on the left that are men that are strong, that
I've never met
courageous.
one. I never met one.
You and me should hang out sometime, Jesse. We'll go to dinner sometime.
You think that you're a strong person?
Yes, I'm a very strong and brave person, Jesse. I don't just let people abuse me.
So are you emotionally strong?
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you get depressed if you're emotionally strong?
That's a mental thing, Jesse. I can't really help that too much. I mean, I can do things to improve that, but I know you don't agree. You have a different take on that. But even people, even conservatives get depressed.
Not real men. Real men don't get depressed. Beta males get depressed because they have a woman's nature.
Are there a lot of conservatives with women's nature? Is that what you're saying?
There are some. They're overcoming it. Yeah, there are some. I mean, you see it in the right-o Republicans. They have the mentality and emotion of a woman, and that's why they can't deal like the great white hope. I got to ask you one final question here. You describe yourself as a former alt-right civic nationalist. What does that mean?
We can get into the terms if you like.
What does that mean?
So what I would have described myself back then is an alt-right civic nationalist. Now, civic nationalist, it's you hear that and you think, well, that doesn't sound
alt-right,
so
not alt-right, alt-right
civic. You hear alt-right civic nationalist. You're like, that doesn't sound so bad. But then, like, if you get into the ideas that I believed, so the only reason I don't call myself alt-right is because I didn't think the Jews controlled the world. I thought like liberals controlled the world or like leftists controlled the world and they were actively trying to destroy the world. So instead of saying Jews, I just said like a different group, right? I used to talk about this idea called cultural Marxism, which is just completely, it's a conspiracy theory that was promoted by Pat Buchanan. So basically it was what I believed in was a watered down version of what the alt-right believes. And you can ask your buddies on the alt-right, I know you've talked to Mike Enoch and them, you can ask them about what alt-right is, and that's what they'll tell you. It's a co-opted, watered-down version of the alt-right. And so that's what I had believed in. If I had kept watching videos and I had kept hanging out in those circles, I would have become alt-right eventually, probably, I would imagine.
Do you support LGBTQIA crap?
Trans rights, Jesse.
You support all that stuff?
Yes, Jesse.
And you support abortion?
I, mm, I support it pragmatically. I would not roll back the laws.
Because I'm black and slow, I don't know what crapmatically mean. So give me a yes or no. Do you
So
support abortion?
Yeah, crapmatically, like technically I would support it. Yes.
I'm sorry?
I would not support rolling back the laws.
And do you support abortion?
If you're going to ask me personally, on a moral level, I don't support it, but I would not roll back the laws.
And why don't you support it personally on a moral level? Why don't you support it?
I guess I still have some conservative tendencies in me, right? I see it as a life. But if you were to roll back those laws,
and do you think that life should have a chance to live?
I think for me, Jesse, really where I'm at with abortion is it's with what you would call late term abortions. That's the kinds of abortions that I wouldn't allow or wouldn't want to see.
So do you personally think that a child has the right to live?
Well, let me ask you this, Jesse. So,
and then I'll let you ask me the question. Answer that first, and I promise to let you ask me the question. Do you think a child personally think a child has the right to develop in the womb, be born, and live, rather than killed in the womb?
Yeah, I would not kill a child in the womb.
And why not?
Because I don't think that we should kill children. So let me ask you this.
So why wouldn't you recommend that for all people?
Right. I would recommend that for all people, and that's why.
So then, why do you support abortion then? You should want the laws turned back.
So on late-term abortions, I would not support any kind of turn back on those laws. Or if there are laws that are for late-term abortions, I would not be for those laws. But Jesse, let me ask you.
Okay, go ahead.
Fertilized eggs. Okay, a fertilized egg, you'd agree that turns into a baby in a womb, right?
Absolutely.
So a fertilized egg should not be destroyed.
No.
Okay, do you know that there's fertilized eggs in fertility clinics that they throw out every year?
And that's wrong too. They shouldn't even be doing that kind of stuff anyway. They should do it
making fertilized eggs in a lab.
No, they should do it naturally.
So if you can't have a baby naturally, then you shouldn't have one.
Right.
Oh, all right.
Maybe you can adopt one rather than killing it. Maybe you can adopt one, but I wouldn't go to a lab. I just heard a story the other day where a white woman couldn't have children, went to one of those labs. They implanted twins inside of her. She and her husband wanted girls. She found out later it was boys, and they were black. Can you imagine?
That's amazing.
So if they didn't have that fertilized junk, these people could have adopted white babies instead of having black ones.
I don't think there's anything wrong with having black babies, but okay.
If you're white, there's an issue.
I don't see why.
Would you have a black baby?
I would have a black baby. Jesse, I would have you if you were a little baby. I'd take care of you. Okay, I wouldn't give you up.
Do you support Mayor Pete Buttigieg for president?
No.
You don't? And how about the wall? Are you for the wall going up?
No.
Oh, the wall going up.
It's not going up, Jesse.
The wall going up. You see that?
I want you to email me. I want you to email me after this and show me where it's being built.
You see this?
I can't see you, Jesse. I have.
Oh, you can't see me. You'll see it later. Then I have. What's the young lady name, Jace? My friend from New Zealand sent me a pair of socks.
Okay.
And it has the face. What? Shauna from New Zealand sent me a pair of socks, and it has the face of the Great White Hope, and it says the wall going up.
Okay.
So take a look later.
I want you to show me, Jesse.
Why? What?
I want you to show me where the wall's being built. I really do, because yeah.
What'd you say?
What did I say?
No, I was talking to my producer. Sorry about that. He was talking to me in my ears. I want to ask, you're not for the wall going up, right?
No, I'm not for the wall going up.
Are you for the wall going that Israel put up? Should Israel have a wall up?
Israel finds himself in a war zone.
And we are too.
I wouldn't say we're in a war zone.
So are you for the wall for Israel?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the situation. I don't have enough information on the
How do you
wall
know
in Israel.
you're not for the wall for America, but you're not sure if you're for the wall for
Because I
Israel?
haven't looked at the situation in Israel. If I felt, I'm not against walls and practice.
You're a smart
right?
guy. You have looked at the
If
situation.
I thought the wall was a good idea for the United States, it's not that I just don't like walls, Jesse. If I thought the wall was a good idea for the United States, then I would support the wall.
But
But I
why?
don't.
But why not? I mean, you don't think that Americans should protect herself?
I think that we should reform our immigration, and yeah, I think that we need to deal with the cartels.
I want. That's amazing. Are you a Christian?
I like Christianity, but I wouldn't call myself a Christian.
Are you Jewish?
No,
And so you're not a Christian either?
no.
Are you an
There's
atheist?
things I like about Christianity, but no, I wouldn't call myself a Christian.
Are you an atheist?
No, I wouldn't call myself an atheist.
What are you?
You know this, Jesse. You've had these conversations. I'm an agnostic.
Amazing. So I want you. Can you take at least one call?
Sure, we can take one call, Jesse.
Okay, Christopher is a first-time caller out of South Dakota. Christopher, thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi,
Christopher.
Hey, I just wanted to, when you made the comment about socialism as the workers owning the means of production, I mean, I have to completely disagree with that. I mean, socialism is government ownership of private property and private property rights. I mean, that's just a term that has been used in the past, but it's never, socialism it's a failure wherever it goes.
Okay, that's a fair definition as well. Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I just hate it when like countries like, Nazi Germany or Venezuela say, oh, it's good because the workers own the means of production. No, they don't. It's complete government control over the private property and private property rights and the entities of private property. So.
Yeah, so this is why I don't really promote socialism, because I talk to socialists and communists all the time. I've never seen an example. They tell me there's been examples of socialism or communism existing. I've never seen it. All I've seen is very bad regimes coming in, using that rhetoric, and then taking power and then subjugating the people. So that's why I'm a social democrat. I don't support those things usually.
Perfect. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate it. Caleb, did you say that a woman should make the choice about whether to have an abortion or not?
It's not so much for me like the women's choice thing. That's not the sticking point that I get stuck on. For me, it's about the effect of it, and then it's also about, is a fertilized egg a child? That's what it is for me.
But you don't believe that a woman should make the choice, right?
I mean, that a woman should have a choice in it. Sure, but that's not the big sticking point for me. That's not like the argument that sold me over on it.
But so you don't believe that a woman should have the choice to kill the baby or not in the womb?
No, I believe that woman should have a choice for the abortion or not, but that's not like the big selling point.
So God forbid, if you should get married and your wife got pregnant and she got mad at you one day because you pretended to be an alpha male and not a beta male,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, I'm going to kill your baby. I don't want this baby. Would you say, oh, honey, that's your choice?
If it was a late-term abortion, yeah.
How about if it wasn't a late-term abortion?
I don't think that me and my wife would be in that situation. There's
Yeah,
a lot of things that led up to that situation.
You're probably going to end up marrying an educated girl, and those women have no sense at all.
Okay.
Yeah, she's going to kill your baby. Oh, your baby going to get killed.
Kill it. All right, Jesse.
Caleb, thank you so much for coming on, man. How can people listen to you? Your show
So Jesse, I have a Discord server that we set up called Faraday Fam. If you go to the descriptions on my videos, if you go to the description section on my YouTube videos, my YouTube channel is Faraday Speaks. That's FARADAYSPEAKS. And if you go into that description on my YouTube channel, you'll find a link to my Discord, and we're trying to create an environment where people have conversations, kind of like what I was saying here, where I think there should be debates and there should be conversations. If anybody wants to come in there and talk with people, that's what we've set that space up to do. And we try to make it a positive environment. And you can also check out my videos at Faraday Speaks on YouTube.
Well, I know that you interview, or I've been told that you interview a lot of communist people all the
I've had
time.
an interview with communists before. I try to do interviews with a lot of different people. I look for people that are in good faith, though.
Well, tell them not to be afraid to come on the show. I like to talk to them sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
All right. And I have a lot of respect for you coming on, man. Even though I don't agree with you on some issues, at least you have the backbone to come on.
Thank you, Jesse.
And hopefully I'll meet you one day in person.
I hope so too, Jesse. So you to be clear, you will debate with Vegeta, right?
I'll debate Vegeta and Vegeta mama.
What about Goku?
I'll debate Goku and Goku's mama.
All right, amazing.
Amazing. Thank you, man. And good to meet you, all right?
And good to meet you too, Jesse.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
You too.
Amazing.